All right, we're going to take a look at multiplying two binomials together. So this is where we get to kind of our, I'm not going to say our biggest thing, but we're going to look at a process that works for all multiplication statements. And there are two different methods that we can use. One I call the grid or rectangle method, and another one is what we call FOIL. It's an acronym, and we'll go through that one in just a little bit. Both methods will be displayed, but we're going to use the one that's most comfortable. So if you like FOIL, use FOIL. If you like grid method, use grid method. I find that most students really like the grid method, okay, which is the first one that I'm going to go through, but some really like FOIL as well, and you can do that. I've always used FOIL, so it's just pretty common for me to use that one. But again, that doesn't mean that you have to use that. You can use whichever one you find to be the easiest, or whichever one you find to be the most straightforward. So let's take a look at grid method first here. So we're going to, again, expand and simplify the following expression. So that means to multiply each term together and then simplify the following expression. So here we go. We have x minus 3, which is a binomial. Okay, there are two terms, x and negative 3, and x plus 4, which is again two terms, so it's x and positive 4. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create a grid which has, which is the size of these two polynomials. Okay, so for today we're just going to be taking a look at two binomials, but later on we'll take a look what happens when we get bigger than binomials. So we get like trinomials or 4 terms or 5 terms or stuff like that. So what we do is we create a grid which is the size of these two. Now each of them is 2, so it's going to be a 2 by 2 grid. Okay, it's going to be a 2 by 2 grid. Again, later on we'll take a look at what happens when we have a trinomial, and then we'll have a 2 by 3 or 3 by 3 grid. We'll go from there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take each polynomial and put one on the left side and one on the top. So x minus 3, we're going to split that up into x and negative 3, two different terms. So we put the two terms by the two rows here. And then the second one is x plus 4, and so we do x by this column and positive 4 by that column there. Okay, you don't have to put positive in there. We know that if it's just 4, it's a positive, so you don't have to do that, but you definitely can as well. Now, what we do, and you might be able to see this kind of coming, it's kind of like a multiplication table where we take the two values which are on the top and left, and then we multiply them into the grid here. And I'm going to go through in very detailed form as to how I'm going to do each one. You don't have to as detailed. You can just put the answer in there if you want, because after a little while this should become hopefully pretty straightforward. The first one here is going to be x times x. Okay, and that gives us x squared. Okay, so x times x is the same as x squared. Then in this one here, we have x times positive 4, okay, where those two meet, and that's going to give us 4x. And again, that's positive because this one's positive and that one's positive. Remember, two positives gives us another positive. Okay, sorry, I'm just trying to figure out which color I'm going to use here. It's one of the little problems I have. The next one here we have is x, so x times negative 3. Again, order doesn't matter. If you want to do negative 3 first, you gladly can. You can also do x first. That doesn't really matter. Our final answer, though, is going to be negative 3x, okay, because it's negative 3 times x. And then our final one here is negative 3 times positive 4. And again, you can do brackets or you can do a little dot, either or. Doesn't really matter. And we have a negative and a positive, meaning the answer is going to be negative. And 3 times 4 is 12, so we're going to get negative 12. Now you may notice we have 4 terms here. Okay, so these are our 4 terms, which we have. And we now want to put this into a general polynomial. So we're going to take them, I'm going to just do them in order here, plus 4x minus 3x minus 12. Those are our 4 terms. That's our expand part. Okay, this is the expand. It's multiplying them together. And once we have our expanded part, we should have a number of terms. So here it's a 2 by 2. 2 times 2 is 4. We'll have 4 terms. If we have a 1 times 2, that's 2 terms. We'll end up with 2 terms. Okay, that's all we have. If we have a 3 by 3, 3 times 3 is 9. We'd have 9 terms that we have to look at. But when we look at these terms here, we have to look at, is there any like terms? Okay, can we put together any like terms? Well, we have an x squared, an x, and a 12. And so these two right here are like terms. Okay, they're both have just one x in them. Okay, they have one x in them. So we can put them together by adding. And so when we do that, the x squared is going to stay the same. We have positive 4 and negative 3. And there are a couple different ways to kind of look at that. You can say that there are 4 positives and 3 negatives, meaning that we're going to end up with only 3. You could do 4 minus 3, which ends up with 1. 4 positives and 3 negatives would be just a 1 positive left. But like 4 minus 3 is the same as that. Or you can do 4 plus negative 3 as well. They're all going to give you 1. So we're left with 1x. And again, we can write 1x, or we can just write it as x. And then the 12 is just by itself, so we leave it there. And so that then is our simplified polynomial. We expand, in this case it's using the grid method, and then we simplify, okay, by putting our like terms together into our final answer. Now, sometimes there will be like terms to put together, okay, and in a lot of the questions that we start with, there definitely will be, but other times there might be, no like terms, and then we just leave it exactly the way it is.